Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this live broadcast. Coming live from the University of the West Indies Cave Hill campus, affectionately known as the Campus by the Sea. My name is Kenneth Connell, and I am the public orator here at the University Cave Hill campus. And we are about to witness the visit of His Majesty, Otumfuo Osei Tutu II, Asantehene of the Ashanti Kingdom, a very historic event here at the campus. The Cave Hill campus, of course, is one of 4 landed campuses of the University of the West Indies. The other campuses being the Five Island campus, the Mona campus, and the St. Augustine campus. This morning's event will take place in the Sagicor Cave Hill School of Business and Management, and also the Hilary MacDonald Beckles Administration Complex located here on campus. If you are in beautiful Barbados, it's a hot day today, and it's bright and sunny. Not much of overcast clouds at all around, and a few light showers earlier this morning, but it's about 34 degrees here in Barbados. And I know that we are also joined by our colleagues across the diaspora and in Ghana, including Mantia Palace as well as Otumfuo TV. Welcome to this broadcast. If you are part of the UWIverse, watching us here live on UWITV, welcome to you as well as our viewers located on Facebook and other virtual platforms. Currently in view is the campus across the street from the Sagicor School of Business and Management, and you've just seen images of the Vice Chancellor, Sir Hilary Beckles, the campus principal, Professor Clive Landis, and I believe you might get a glimpse there as well as of the Chancellor, Dr. Dowridge, who is there standing as well, waiting on the reception of His Majesty. I also see in the background, heading from my faculty of medical sciences, a few medical students coming in. Those of you listening may already know that the Cave Hill campus has a transnational program with the University of Ghana, where Ghanaian students registered with the University of Ghana commence their first 3 years of the MBCHB or the MBBS program, and then continue at the University of Ghana for years 4 through 5. So starting here at Cave Hill and then transitioning. And if I think I have the titles correctly, I think that the first cohort of students are currently in their 2nd year. I think we're witnessing the arrival now of security, and so we should have our dignitaries arriving momentarily. The Chancellor approaches the entourage. And His Majesty is currently in view, or was just in view. His Majesty, of course, Otumfuo Osei Tutu II, greeted by the Chancellor, Sir Richard Dowdridge, as well as Sir Hilary Beckles, with a warm embrace, as is characteristic across the diaspora. The symbolism here cannot be overlooked, And of course, as this program continues, you will see historic sites there. He meets the principal Landis, Clive Landis, the current principal of the Cayfield campus. And the party heads towards the entrance of the Sagicor School of Business and Management building. You are probably hearing the music better than I am, but based on the dancing and the fact that we are located in the middle of Barbados's Independence Month, certainly the cultural display has started with some music and dance as the party enters the main foyer of the Sagicor Cayfield School of Business and Management. And His Majesty greets some of the dignitaries as he arrives. And I am certain that we are about to witness what will shortly be a photo opportunity. So along with His Majesty, key members of the Ghanaian delegation, as well as the university represented by the Chancellor and Vice-Chancellor, are in shot here, or partially in shot. And with official photographs out of the way, we then move into what might be a brief break before heading into the start of the ceremony. So who is in the audience besides the university community, including our students? And I'm sure the Guild of Students are well represented here. We have, of course, other members of the administration, the university's leadership, including the registrar, the bursar, the deans, and various faculty representatives. Members of government are here as well, joining us for the occasion. And His Majesty is entering what looks like the photo room. If you're wondering if this is the first visit of the Asantehene of the Ashanti Kingdom to Cave Hill campus, and we're in the main auditorium now where the dignitaries will be seated and awaiting the start of the official program. I see the Honorable Chad Blackman here representing the Barbados government as well. And I was saying this is not the first visit of His Excellency. He was in fact here in 2008 as recipient of the Honorary Doctor of Laws degree here at the Cave Hill campus. And hopefully I can share some information with you on that visit during one of our transition breaks. The audience is now seated, and I'm seeing some familiar faces, both past and present senior administrators at the Cave Hill campus. I believe I just saw the former registrar, Mr. Ken Walters, in the audience, as well as the current director of the George Allen Chronic Disease Research Center, Professor Simon Anderson, the Dean of the Faculty of Science and Technology, and this year is a special year for them as well, Dr. Denise Badnock, the Dean of the Faculty of Medical Sciences, Dr. Damien Cohall, and a few other deans I can see there as well. Also scattered in the audience here are many students representing their faculties. And I also anticipate that sometime today we may see or hopefully get to chat with or two transnational program students who are part of the transnational MBCHB program studying here at the Cave Hill campus, registered at the Cave Hill campus and the University of Ghana in the Faculty of Medical Sciences here. Also in the audience is the University Registrar, Dr. Maurice Smith. I think I saw him briefly at the start of the program. The Sagicor Cave Hill School of Business and Management is across the street from the main campus complex. And of course, the Hilary MacDonald building where the ceremony will continue transitions across the street. And we will have a brief opportunity to speak more about His Majesty's visit, as well as his previous relationship with the campus. I think we're about to go live to the Master of Ceremonies, Miss Christiane Walcott. Enjoy the morning's proceedings.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience. We are just awaiting the arrival of the Prime Minister, the Honourable Dickon Mitchell, to join us, and then we will get started. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, so we have a slight delay in the program, but I'm going to, of course, keep you posted once we are back at the podium with our Master of Ceremony, Miss Christiane Walcott. Of course, lots of history being created here today in Barbados and the Cave Hill campus. In Barbados, the Growth Unite Build Africa or Guba conference is currently in progress. And His Majesty's arrival to Barbados represented the first direct flight from Accra here. I believe that was yesterday here at the Grantley Adams International Airport. Of course, there has been a lot of movement between Barbados and Ghana. the two countries sharing shared similarities and, of course, history. I visited Accra, actually, just about, probably now about 6 or 7 years ago with the University of Ghana and, of course, the Kenyatta University as well. But was especially touched by my visit to Ghana, the cultural norms and the similarities between our customs. I will share a light joke with the audience. On my arrival at the airport, I was met by the immigration officer who looked quite perplexed as to why I was using a Barbadian passport and not my Ghanaian passport. But I am told that I do look quite Ghanaian. So if you're listening to us in Ghana, I know it's approximately 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. there. Welcome to Barbados, the island with just about 280,000 people. So I usually got that question a lot in Accra during my visit. Very small island, very close relationship. The ancestry is probably better described by our Vice Chancellor and Dean of the Faculty of Humanities. But I am told that the ancestry is predominantly Ghanaian, unlike some of the other territories in the region, which are predominantly Nigerian. And so that link has always been there and certainly has strengthened. Looks like the Prime Minister of Grenada, the Honorable Dickon Michels, and he's greeted by Her Excellency Juliet Bino Sutherland and the Principal, Professor Clive Landis. The Prime Minister of Grenada, of course, is no stranger to Barbados. I believe he was recently in Barbados as part of our Carifesta celebrations here this year. And I certainly took in Grenada Night. He is here to witness the celebration. So quite a Caribbean-wide celebration here on campus, and rightfully so. The KFIL campus is one of, I said, 4 landed campuses, but there is also the global campus. And of course, we represent the entire Caribbean diaspora. So it is quite right that other heads of states from the other countries in the region are joining us here in beautiful and hot Barbados. A glance through the speech of His Majesty delivered in 2008, one paragraph really struck me, and I quote directly from the speech. His Majesty states, "Today, the world is in the grip of an extreme financial crisis, the extent and severity of which has never been seen before. And this crisis has thrown up a number of issues that are at the core of leadership debate. Simply put, the crisis has been the result of a dismal failure of leadership at all levels." And I couldn't help but think that our world currently is experiencing many crises, some geopolitical, some climate. Of course, here in the region, we've recently had the devastating event in Jamaica of Hurricane Melissa. And leadership matters, and certainly the Asantehene is well known internationally for his strong leadership and has received several honorary degrees, not only from the University of the West Indies, but from several universities around the world. Today's program is quite action-filled with lots of culture and speeches. including cultural presentations by the Haynesville Youth Group, as well as the Royal Singers. Speeches will, of course, be delivered by the Chancellor, Vice Chancellor, and His Majesty. And all are now standing for possibly the arrival of our final dignitary. Not in my shot now, but okay, so I believe that the head party might have just taken official photos and as the greeting of Grenada's Prime Minister Dickon Mitchell, and are now returning to their seats for what it will likely be the start of today's proceedings. I also see Miss Walcott back at the podium as our Master of Ceremonies. So I will take you back live to the Sagicor Keyfield School of Business, where the proceedings continue.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the national anthems of Ghana and Barbados. Thank you. You may be seated. His Majesty, Otumfuo Osei Tutu II, Asantehene, Kingdom of the Ashanti. Prime Minister of Grenada, the Honorable Dickon Mitchell. Dr. the Most Honorable Doddridge D. Miller, Chancellor of the University of the West Indies. The Honorable Jerome Walcott, Minister of Health and Wellness and Senior Minister coordinating social and environmental policy. The Honorable Sandra Husbands, Minister of Training and Tertiary Education. The Honorable Chad Blackman, Minister of Educational Transformation. Members of the Diplomatic Corps, Professor Sir Hilary Beckles, Vice-Chancellor of the University of the West Indies, and Lady Beckles. Dr. Tricia Tanis, Chair of Campus Council, Cave Hill, and Reverend Dr. Tanis. Professor R. Clive Landis, Principal and Pro-Vice-Chancellor, the UWI Cave Hill Campus. Chiefs of the Ashanti Kingdom, members of the Executive and Senior Management of the University of the West Indies, Her Excellency Juliet Bino Sutherland, High Commissioner of Barbados to Ghana, His Excellency David Commichong, Ambassador of Barbados to the Caribbean Community, members of the Royal Delegation, members of the Guba Delegation, members of the university community, deans and heads of department, faculty and students, specially invited guests, members of the media, guests viewing online via UWITV platforms, ladies and gentlemen. A warm welcome to all from the University of the West Indies Cave Hill campus in beautiful Barbados. My name is Christy-Ann Walcott, and I am delighted to serve as your Master of Ceremonies for these proceedings. Reclaiming our Atlantic destiny, connect, build, renew. Today's forum, hosted by the UWI Cave Hill campus, is the fruit of a collaborative endeavor with the Barbados Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade and our partner, Guba Enterprise. This forum is all at once manifestation, representation, and celebration. Your Majesty, you honor us with your presence. And the us of whom I speak is not solely reserved for the Cave Hill campus or the University of the West Indies. You honor each of us in this room. You honor this nation, and indeed you honor this region. For we are all one, and today's engagement will be an experience that we can all claim. You sit in our midst, and there is an undeniable pull of family that is real, and it is strong. It is birthright, and it is destiny. And so the very idea of connection and building and renewal that forms the core of this visit, of our collective purpose, is far more than some nebulous concept. It is a call that we are compelled to answer. Every generation bears witness to something seminal by which it is later defined. In some instances, we are unaware that we are making history while we make it. In other cases, you just know that you're part of something historic, like today. Because if for no other reason, today is part of a larger moment that is already historic, indeed worthy of drums and cymbals that heralded your arrival. And we thank the dancers and drummers of the Haynesville Youth Club for leading us in that tribute at the entrance, under the artistic directorship and mentorship of Mrs. Sophia Lee and Mr. Peter Skeet, excuse me. Could we have a round of applause for that welcome? And Your Majesty, while this is not your first visit to the Cave Hill campus, we celebrate the fact that through this visit, you have afforded us another historic experience that can now belong to yet another generation of students, staff, and our wider university community. At this time, it is with great pleasure that I invite our Vice-Chancellor, Professor Sir Hilary Beckles, to deliver opening remarks. Vice-Chancellor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The King is back. You can clap for that. His Royal Highness Osei Tutu The second, Asantehene, is back at Keyfield campus. It was 17 years ago, 2008, that he was with us to receive an honorary doctorate. It's coincidental that our chancellor, the Most Honorable Douglas Miller, was also receiving an honorary doctorate in that class of 2008. There are no coincidences. There are historical processes, and we get to understand them the closer we look. I presented my first lecture at the Kwame Nkrumah University in Kumasi in Ghana under the chancellorship of our Asantehene, and he introduced me as I'm introducing him today. This for me is also a personal matter because Otumfuo is my friend, and it means a great deal to me to say that he is my good old friend. I'm able to speak, therefore, in the context of his presence as king. And I will take this opportunity to share just a few historical facts about his legacy here with us. The first slave ship that arrived here in Barbados arrived on the 2nd of August, 1643. And that slave ship was called the Mary. And it came here from what is now called, or what was called then the Gold Coast. The first shipment of Africans to this island came from Ghana. Ghana continued for another 100 years as the leading source of African people on this island. The Asante, the Ga, and the Fantis were the majority of Africans in Barbados. Barbados then became the first Ghanaian diaspora in the New World. Barbados was, in effect, Little Ghana. When the first slave code was written by the British Parliament for the control of enslaved Africans in 1661, it was written specifically for the Ghanaians who had refused to accept their enslavement, and Barbados became a battleground between the Ghanaians fighting for their freedom and the English who were determined to enslave them. In 1675, the Ghanaians planned a rebellion against the English to destroy slavery and to take control of the island of Barbados. That rebellion was called Kofi's War. Kofi was the organizer of that rebellion. The 12th of June was identified as the date on which Kofi was going to be crowned the Asantehene of Barbados. And a stool was made, a stool of wood was made for the ceremony in which Kofi was to be the king and Asantehene of Barbados. That rebellion was brutally suppressed. The stool was burnt, and the leaders of that organization, led by Kofi, were also burnt alive. The description of that event are very clear in our historical record. In the town we now call Spikestown, the 14 leaders, including Kofi, were burnt alive in a public ceremony. We have the details of that narrative in our archives. And here we are 350 years later, exactly 350 years later, the king is back. King Kofi did not live to become the Asantehene of Barbados, but we are sure that Kofi's spirit is here in this very room, all around us, smiling because Otumfuo is here representing him and all of those who gave their lives for freedom. Our Ghanaian roots are very strong. When I was a child growing up in rural Barbados, one of the most common female names was Fanti. So many little girls were called Fanti. Little did we know at the time that the Fantis were one of the great groups, nations, ethnicities in Ghana. But resilience and survival. Our king is back as part of a complex conversation of helping this island and all of the proud citizens to celebrate their Ghanaian roots, to feel connected to a stream of consciousness that has not been broken. One of the ironies of our culture in Barbados is that quite often people would say, oh, the Barbadians are so civil, they're so polite. It must be the English influence. And I would say to them, there is nothing civil and polite about Englishness. The English have built the most brutal empire the world has ever seen. The British has enslaved over 20 million of us. There's nothing civil about that. That is our Ghanaian roots. that civility that we celebrate on this island is part of our culture. It is our roots in Ga, Infanti, Asante. It is our Ghanaian roots that have made us who we are. And I can tell you, when I go to Ghana, and I was there about 3 weeks ago, it's one of the places where you feel so completely at home because you realize who you are. It is only when you step down into the society and walk all over the place you realize who you are. Because somewhere in your consciousness, your behavior corresponds with the behavior of the people around you. And you realize there and then, yes, Ghanaian, that is our culture. Otumfuo is here with us as part of a new conversation about building the bridges between Barbados and its Ghanaian ancestry. Bridges of trade, political diplomacy, bridges of culture and art. In other words, he is here as part of this strategy to normalize our relationship to our roots so that we feel an impulse to return home, to walk around the place, to walk around Accra, to jump on a bus and go down to Elmina or Cape Coast, to rent a car and drive up to Kumasi and visit the Royal Palace. Any of you who wish to go to the Royal Palace and have tea, just let me know. and I will send a message to my friend. I will take this opportunity before I leave this stage to offer our collective condolences to His Royal Highness, who lost his big sister, the Queen Mother, just a few weeks ago. And I arrived in Ghana, I was passing through, and I said to our ambassador in Ghana, how small the world is. She was my student. Now she's our ambassador in Ghana. And I said to her, please send a message to Otumfuo for me. Get a message up to Kumasi that I'm offering my condolences for his great loss. Your Excellency, welcome home, welcome back. Tremendous joy to be once again in your company. Bless you.
Thank you, Vice Chancellor. And by now, many of us are in some way acquainted with Guba Enterprise. You may know of the Guba Awards and the Guba Trade and Investment Initiative. And Barbados has been fortunate enough to host the 2025 edition of the Guba Awards and its Trade and Investment Conference. And we have a number of those delegates joining us in person this afternoon, and indeed following along on our UWITV streaming platforms. But let us start with, what is Guba? Well, it's Grow, Unite, Build Africa. Its ethos is actually baked into its name, and it gives life and breath and purpose to the identification and recognition of African excellence, both on the continent and across the diaspora. But we cannot somehow speak of the pursuit of purpose and the celebration of African excellence without simultaneously speaking of Guba's founder. And the University of the West Indies Cayfield campus is so pleased to have had this opportunity to collaborate so closely with Guba Enterprise in the crafting of today's engagement with His Majesty Otumfuo Osei Tutu II. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the podium the CEO and President of Guba Enterprise, Lady Denta Amoateng, MBE.
Your Excellencies, Your Majesty, it's with immense pride and deep gratitude that I stand before you today on this historic occasion. It is an honor beyond words to have His Majesty Otumfuo Osei Tutu II, the Asantehene, with us here in Barbados, a moment that reconnects history, heritage, and destiny. Your Majesty, your presence here is not only a blessing to us all, but is a profound symbol of the reconnection and the return of the African king to the Caribbean shores, where our ancestors once crossed centuries ago. Through the Guba enterprise, we have championed this mission, creating bridges between the African continent and its diaspora through trade, investment, culture, and a shared prosperity. Our work is grounded in the belief that the diaspora hold the power to shape Africa's future, and that is Africa. In turn, holds the key to the global renewal. This visit by His Majesty is a contribution to that story and reaffirmation of unity, dignity, and purpose across the Atlantic. Your Majesty, thank you for leading us with vision and grace. And to all who are gathered here with us, may this forum ignite the collaborations, investments, and friendship that our ancestors dreamed of. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Thank you for those very kind remarks, Lady Denta. And as I introduce our next speaker, there is a happy coincidental commonality between the two of you, in fact. You with your early training as a pediatric nurse, and of course our campus principal, Professor Clive Landis, who is substantively a professor of cardiovascular research. So certainly there is that undergirding theme that motivates you both, that being the role of health in leading the way towards development for all. Also, he's recently back from a trip to the continent, Egypt, to be precise. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, to deliver a personal welcome on behalf of the host campus, please welcome Pro-Vice Chancellor and Principal of the UWI Cave Hill campus, Professor R. Clive Landis.
Your Majesty, Otumfuo Osei Tutu II, Prime Minister Dickon Mitchell, Ministers of Government of Barbados, your delegation, Your Majesty, distinguished guests all. I have the simple but profound task, on behalf of the University of the West Indies Cave Hill campus, to offer our most sincere and heartfelt welcome to you, Your Majesty, and your distinguished guests, on the occasion of this historic royal visit to our campus. We are very grateful, Your Majesty, that you have been able to find space in your packed schedule of diplomatic engagements to visit the Cave Hill campus, to share your thoughts at today's forum on reclaiming our Atlantic destiny, and to unveil a portrait in your honor, to hang in the Hilary MacDonald Beckles Administration Building, better known to the Barbadian public as the Golden Stool. I am pleased that the historic context has been already laid by our leading historian in the Caribbean, Sir Hilary Beckles. I am a medical man myself, and I wish to take the opportunity to describe a joint medical degree program between our two countries that is close to my heart and fits precisely into the theme of today's forum. Your Majesty, in this room today are two of your loyal subjects who are students in a unique joint medical degree program that the UWI Cave Hill campus has developed with the University of Ghana. You will notice I'm wearing my University of Ghana tie. May I ask Ms. Fafa Hansen and Ms. Seyram Sodju to stand, please? Fafa and Seyram are the trailblazers in a joint 3+3 medical degree program in which students complete 3 years here in Barbados, where we have excess preclinical capacity, and 3 years in Ghana, where there's excess clinical capacity. And the students in this transatlantic degree program, whether from Ghana or Barbados, will thus earn 2 degrees, a BSc in preclinical sciences from the UE and a MB CHB degree from the University of Ghana. The medical degree is fully accredited by the respective accreditation bodies of Barbados and Ghana and the medical and dental councils of Barbados and Ghana, allowing graduates who complete this program to practice medicine in either country. Your Majesty, I think you would agree that this transatlantic degree program represents a bridge between our two countries, a movement of people of the best possible kind that can elevate personal and national development in the field of medicine. I believe that your royal presence here today will help raise awareness in Ghana of this unique joint medical degree program, which we are so proud to have developed with the University of Ghana. Your Majesty, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, again, please accept my warmest welcome to the Cayville campus. If I may, Akwaba.
Thank you, Principal. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, we excitedly make way for His Majesty to make his address to the forum. But first, we welcome Vice-Chancellor Sir Hilary Beckles back to the podium to deliver a fitting introduction. Following this, Your Majesty, you will immediately take the stage. BC?
His Royal Highness Osei Tutu II is the 16th Asantehene. He was installed in the ceremony of the chair on the 26th of April, 1999. He is a direct descendant of Otumfuo Osei Tutu I, who was the 17th century, that's 400 years ago, the 17th century founder and creator of the Ashanti Empire. Otumfuo is also the chancellor of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology in Kumasi, which is the home of His Royal Highness, where he dwells in the Royal Palace. He was installed following the passing of Otumfuo Opoku Warri II. He is therefore a member of the Oyuko dynasty. And his grooming began at the age of 5 when he was moved into the royal palace to begin his preparation. His professional training is in the field of accounting and financial management. He studied both in Accra and in London in the areas of business management and financial administration. He is the recipient of an honorary degree from London Metropolitan University in 2006 and from the University of the West Indies in 2015. He is highly respected not only in his homeland, but across all of Africa. His seniority is celebrated, and his wisdom is sought after at all levels of public governance. He is the recipient of the inaugural Pillar of Peace Award in Ghana for his skills as a peace negotiator. He is a devout environmentalist and a leader in charitable philanthropy. He is also sought after for his public speaking, and one of his latest grand speeches was delivered just recently at the British Museum, July 14, 2024, entitled Asante Culture and Heritage in the Modern Age. He is a distinguished celebrator of higher education, and in his role as chancellor, a strategist for the development of his university. He is therefore very much at home in any university gathering. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my joy to introduce to you His Royal Highness Otumfuo Osei Tutu II, Asantehene, to address you on the subject, Reclaiming Our Atlantic Destiny, Connect, Build, and Renew. Ladies and gentlemen, His Majesty.
Please sit down. Please sit down.
Wasaji fogunya gwasio prasantina dwe kasangen.
Saji fogunya gwasio prasantina dwe kasangen.
Kota ini kase klobia ile kasangen.
Kota ini kase klobia ile kasangen.
Mema klobia ili fia ngomane kota kungen.
Mema klobia ili fia kota kungen.
Asante chancho mo champon fringen.
Asante chancho mo champon fringen.
Asante sesebo sumandite.
Asante sesebo sumandite.
Klobia santina dwe kasangen.
Klobia santina dwe kasangen.
Seti chebe mo dinyo visio.
Seti chebe mo dinyo visio.
Why ne benya sajuso sipaini ya kwa bakuma sikapo bano.
Why ne benya sajuso sipaini ya kwa bakuma sikapo bano.
Binya se bianco baby.
Oh binya se bianco baby.
Amana te di fe madame le fie kasangen.
Amana te di fe madame le fie kasangen.
Chewane tofi moje nungen.
Chewane tofi moje nungen.
Odo froda diochmo champon fringen.
Odo froda diochmo champon fringen.
O soni kroyos medite.
O soni kroyos medite.
Ya kwa jale na dia sia dingen.
Ja kwa jale na dia sia dingen.
Akusibio kumbrochmo champon fringen.
Akusibio kumbrochmo champon fringen.
Ja kwa frise frampo demli favisi.
Ja kwa frise frampo demli favisi.
Setu to me modi nya visio.
Setu to me modi nya visio.
Why ne benya se kanti chire bo ache dan kwa ne sa wan pimsika po bano.
Why ne benya se kanti chire bo ache dan kwa ne sa wan pimsika po bano.
Obinya se bianco baby.
Oh binya se bianco baby.
Dagwa bakana ne frampo demli favisi.
Dagwa bakana ne frampo demli favisi.
Me ma jabido da kwa yadungen.
Me ma jabido da ko yadungen.
Ya domna ni adia ko bo jo ta tochmo champon fringen.
Ya domna da ko ta tochmo champon fringen.
O to sika sama na jija kungen.
O to sika sama na jija kungen.
Ja kwa bo ba ko nyom flower.
Ja kwa bo ba ko nyom flower.
Hina fro frampo demli fao.
Hina fro frampo demli fao.
Se tu to mi modi nya visio.
Se tu to mi modi nya visio.
Wa saji fogu nya gwasingen.
O saji fogu nya gwasingen.
O presentina dwe kasangen.
O presentina dwe kasangen.
Wo bluele to braba dem me fa gunya boss adunya chemebra.
The Honorable Prime Minister of Grenada, my son, I'm yet to visit you, but I will come. The Chancellor and my course mates, 208 graduates, I still remember you. And when I saw you, I said, okay, well, we'll graduate together, thanks to the Vice Chancellor. My dear friend, how are you? I realize that you are in good hands. You're being looked after, and thank you very much for covering very, very well. The distinguished ministers of state here present, the members of the diplomatic corps here present, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is with unqualified pleasure and a deep sense of historical purpose that I join you today in beautiful Barbados at this renowned institution, the University of West Indies, Kevel campus, my university anyway. To return to the Caribbean, a place so dear to my heart and so inextricably linked to the ties of history to my Asante Kingdom and the African continent, is an inspiring moment that stirs the soul. I bring you warm greetings from the government and people of Ghana, including your kith and kin in the multi-ethnic Asante Kingdom. I still cherish the memory of receiving an honorary doctorate, a Doctor of Laws LLD degree from this esteemed university some 17 years ago, an honor that deepened the bond between the Golden Stool and the Caribbean people. We have gathered here today for a momentous occasion, the Guba Awards 2025, being held under the inspiring and pregnant theme, Reclaiming Our Atlantic Destiny, Connect, Build, and Renew. This theme is not merely a powerful set of words or a slogan, it is a mission, a solemn call to action that resonates deeply with the spirits of our ancestors and the aspirations of our present and future generations. The theme is also an eloquent reflection of the Pan-African vision championed by leaders like Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, the first president of Ghana, which proudly carries the torch of uniting Africa with its diaspora scattered around the world. Inescapable recognition that the destinies of Africa and the Caribbean are intertwined, sharing an unbreakable link in our DNA. Going down the memory lane, we can readily recall that 400 years ago, history was rewritten through the brutal lens of the transatlantic slave trade, dispersing our people across this vast ocean. For too long, the Atlantic Ocean has been viewed primarily as the root of a painful past, a symbol of separation and sorrow, division and displacement. While we must never forget to overlook the pre- and post-emancipation physical, psychological, and social effects of colonialism, we must today look at the same ocean which carried away our kinsmen and kinswomen as a bridge, a conduit that connects us, the shared waterway of a global African family. Our shared history is a testament to the indomitable African spirit, an enduring legacy that if you kill 1,000, 1,000 will storm back. Our shared heritage binds us in an enduring spirit of resilience and an unyielding quest for dignity and self-determination. Today, we convene at a pivotal moment to begin the process of reconnecting the threads of our shared history. It is time for us to consciously and strategically reclaim our shared destiny, mounting beyond mere sentimentality to pragmatic and tangible cooperation. In our bid to reclaim our Atlantic destiny, the theme gives us three categorical imperatives. We must connect, build, and renew. The first important step of our mission is to connect, to break the divide between Africa and the African diaspora. This means fostering stronger ties, not just at the governmental level, but through academic exchange, cultural immersion, and people-to-people interactions. We must break the silence that has surrounded our shared history and actively strive to build the unbreakable bridge that has been missing for centuries. Acknowledging and confronting our painful past will enable us to overcome the trauma caused by enslavement, colonialism, and its attendant racism. We all recognize that getting to the mother continent from the Caribbean and vice versa can be complicated, with travelers often forced to fly into Europe, while a direct flight can take a shorter time and will be more convenient. No wonder our gracious host, the Honorable Mia Motley, who has rightly and proudly described herself as the daughter of Africa, has called for the construction of air and sea bridges between Africa and the Caribbean. Where there's a will, there's a way. God helps those who help themselves. The import of these two common sayings is that with determination and perseverance, we can overcome what may seem insurmountable challenges. An initiative like the direct flight from Africa and the Caribbean, which is long overdue, can turn geographic proximity into genuine connectivity and promote cultural tourism. And that is why the direct flight from Accra to Bridgetown, organized in connection with Guba Awards 2025, deserves our commendation and emulation. We can also focus on education by utilizing our educational institutions to build bridges and educate people about Africa within the Caribbean communities and vice versa. And I think this afternoon I've been introduced to two of them here, bridging the gap there. It is also possible to promote cultural collaboration by facilitating partnerships between cultural figures such as musicians and writers. It should be possible for us to encourage diaspora-led initiatives through supporting community-based knowledge sharing led by the diaspora in areas like health, agriculture, and finance. I commend this university for contributing to driving this process, for recognizing what we must reconnect in Africa, with Africa, the mother continent, not just in intellectual engagement, but as nations and people. If you all favor reconnecting Africa and the Caribbean, then we should have the courage to admit that the construction of the bridge constitutes an unfinished bridge, which we must hurriedly complete to enable us to translate the partnership into reality for the mutual benefit of our people. Let me confess that I keep returning to the Caribbean islands, albeit always in response to invitations extended to me, simply because I see myself as someone on a larger mission, the noble mission of contributing my quota towards fostering, broadening, and cementing the growing relations between Africa and the Caribbean and between Africa and its diaspora. This mission, as we all recognize, is not going to be an event. It may be a long and tortuous process. So let us rekindle the spirit of our forefathers who, in the face of oppression, humiliation, and indignities unparalleled in history, showed resilience, determination, and perseverance to survive and thrive. Viewed from a historical perspective, the underlying current of the theme is not new. We can recall that in reference to the experiences of the slave trade, oppression, and racial discrimination, some famous individuals of African descent, such as Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, and Martin Luther King Jr., all advocated that Africans and, in extension, all people of African descent need to reconnect and, if possible, join a giant sovereign union of a single socio-political, economic, and cultural identity. They emphasized that the need for African descendants to work together to transform the paradigm of centuries of discrimination and leverage a continental political union in international relations. As if to follow up on this grand vision of African unity, in 2006, the Constitutive Act of the AU was amended to include the African diaspora as the sixth region of the continent, the others being Central, Eastern, Northern, Southern, and Western regions of Africa.
Young.
The Act defines the African diaspora to include the people of African region living outside the continent, irrespective of their citizenship and nationality, and who are willing to contribute to the development of the continent and the building of the African Union.
Young.
The article manifests an official recognition of the role of African diaspora irrespective of historical migration as either forced or voluntary, pre-slave trade, slave trade, post-slave trade, and modern migration in advancing the Pan-African philosophy through the development or rebuilding of Africa and African heritage.
Young.
Already, some Afro-pessimists and cynics have described the AU Sixth region as a coded language for what they call Africans who have migrated and are living outside Africa. We should not allow ourselves to continue to be divided. For me, this is not a mere symbolic designation. It is a living and breathing opportunity for political, economic, and cultural revival.
Young.
We should leverage the AU designation and initiative to connect Africa and its diaspora, irrespective of where they are, when and how they got to their present location.
Young.
By our calculation, this will amount to about 350 million people of African descent, which translates into the third biggest population in the world if all the African diaspora could be considered as living in one country.
Young.
People of African descent, both within and outside the mother continent, do not only share a common history or heritage, but more complexly share a common destiny that transcends historical prejudices and closing the dark history of slavery, colonization, and continuous racial discrimination. We should therefore embrace and promote African Liberation Day, May 25th, in the Caribbean, while Africa celebrates Emancipation Day, 1st August, in Africa.
Young.
Let your Africanness or African region not be a source of shame, but a badge of pride and honor, which you should always wear and display.
Young.
In my view, God gives us our brothers and sisters. We choose our own friends. This means you and I have no control over who become our relatives. That is God-given, but we have the latitude to decide who becomes our friends and associates in life.
Young.
So you and I are still torn together. We can't go anywhere. So we have to make sure that we build together.
Young.
Because you are my brothers and sisters. Whether you like it or not, that's how it is.
Young. Young.
It should have long dawned on us that we need effective, pragmatic, and robust cooperation and collaboration to promote sustainable development in our communities, countries, and regions. Explaining the political, social, and economic benefits of closer cooperation are so evident that it always sounds like preaching to the converted. But given the circumstances in which we find ourselves, we are often compelled to do so.
Young.
I end with a timeless idea encapsulated in the old Latin proverb, dum spiro spero. While I breathe, I hope.
Young.
And there is hope in our dreams, our imaginations, and our aspirations. Let us have the mental fortitude to stand by the courage of our conviction and translate our noble ideas into reality. Only by so doing can we survive and thrive as a people.
Young.
The second component of our imperative trinity is that we should build with a renewed sense of purpose. We must focus on building a future of shared opportunity and prosperity. If connecting is the foundation, building is the action. Guided by the wisdom and lessons of history, it is evident that the development of Africa will eventually uplift the image and prospects of the African diaspora and vice versa. In this regard, we can readily recall with nostalgia how the liberation of Africa in the 1960s impacted the civil rights movement of the United States of America. And I dare say, the acceleration of the decolonization process in the Caribbean. We must leverage our collective resources, intellect, and expertise to address the common challenges confronting our societies and regions.
Young.
In my work back home in the Asante Kingdom, I have consistently emphasized the need for modernization to work hand in hand with tradition to promote education, health, and economic development. The Caribbean, with its relatively high literacy rates, possesses a massive pool of intellect and expertise, and Africa is a continent of immense and flourishing economies. We have a tremendous opportunity to translate our shared cultural identity into tangible economic power. To build now means we can be the actors of our own destiny, and we should have the mental discipline to chart our own course and determine our own future together. The time has come for us to rekindle our efforts to build strong institutions that support our people and resist forces that seek to exploit our resources. We should create new trade corridors that should focus on establishing robust, direct trade links between Africa and the Caribbean by bypassing the traditional trade routes that primarily benefit former colonial powers. Because at this day and age, we still trade with our former colonial powers without trading with Africa and our diaspora. I just want to know how much we sell to Barbados and how much Barbados sells to us. But I have things that Barbados was, but Barbados also has things that Ghana wants. So why can't we do that? We should strive to foster investment and innovation by organizing high-level conferences like this one, the Guba Trade and Investment Conference, bringing together investors, entrepreneurs, and policymakers to explore, identify, and build tangible economic opportunities and jobs. The Trade and Investment Conference held as part of the Guba Awards 2025 attests to our commitment to build resilient health systems, invest in agricultural value chains, develop other creative industries, and create infrastructure transport links between our nations. It is through such concrete collaboration that we will create jobs, drive innovation, and ensure shared prosperity for our generation and generations yet to come. Such initiatives would also boost South-South cooperation, which is mere on paper because we don't do it. Because when the South-South cooperation came, we thought we were going to trade with ourselves, but we still go to our colonial masters. So also boost South-South cooperation, which aims at forging better and stronger cooperation among developing countries, an alternative to dependence and over-reliance on former colonial powers. The goal is to build a new destiny determined by and for the people of the Atlantic diaspora. But to succeed in doing this, we need to free ourselves from mental slavery, an attitude and mindset, yes. An attitude and mindset that we have imposed on ourselves. Mental slavery may be opaque and latent, but it is potent and all-encompassing, always hiding in plain sight in our communities, countries, and regions. It is mental slavery that has conditioned us to accept thoughts from the North as always better and superior, whilst always denigrating our own as inferior. Another plank in the platform for building African-Caribbean relations is the all-important issue of Pan-African unity. This is grounded in Pan-Africanism, echoing the vision of leaders like Dr. Kwame Nkrumah and others for a united and self-determining Africa and its diaspora. Let us use proactive diplomacy to build stronger political, economic, and cultural ties between Africa and the Caribbean. The Africa-CARICOM Summit, a quadrennial bicontinental diplomatic conference, two of which have been held so far in 2021 and 2025. I would suggest you do it either yearly or 2 years, instead of 4 years, because when you, Mr. Prime Minister, when you discuss 4 years, you would have finished. And whatever decisions you took, you would have even lost some of the prime ministers and presidents who were part of that discussion. So that to have held between the leading policies of countries in Africa and member states of CARICOM should and must be used to coordinate our position and present a common front on the international stage in global forums like the UN, the Commonwealth, the Bretton Woods institutions, and the G20. We should use our combined strength and speak with one voice on issues like the reform of Bretton Woods institutions to enable them better serve the needs and interests of small and developing countries. But you know, if we manage our economies well, the diaspora here, we can collaborate with Africa. Africa has all the resources that we don't have to go to the Bretton Woods for the money. We don't have to. If we manage it properly, we can look after ourselves. We have all the resources, we have everything there. And so the students, people who've gone to school, engineers and also are there. So we can plug them from Grenada, from Barbados and everything, give them, charge them with, so the mining engineers, go and dig the mine. The doctors, run the hospitals. Let us run it for profit. And then we can do it. But we go to Australia, they take my concession, and they go to put it on the stock exchange and take the money and bring back and buy the machines and bring back, telling me it's an investment. But we give them the concessions. Because I'm not in charge of the concessions, the government that is in charge of the concessions. And they take only 10%. I asked the Prime Minister of Norway how they organize their oil, and he said, tell your president to take 70% as a start. I told the then president, who was there, I wouldn't mention the name, that look, that is what the Norwegian president has told me. He said, Majesty, we don't have money, so we have to go in small, so let's agree to what they want to give us first. And we've lost it till now, we don't have the money. In the same vein, we should work together on the complex issue of reparations, seeking fair access, development, and compensation for historical injustices, some amounting to crimes against humanity. The transatlantic slave trade was the largest long-distance forced movement of people recorded in history. If truth be told, it was a crime against humanity. We may have forgiven the perpetrators of such heinous crime, but we should compel them through strong international advocacy to atone for their sins. I was not confronted, but I met a Sudanese in Holland, and she wanted to ask questions. I said, let her ask. She said, Majesty, why did you sell it to the people there? Why did you abandon us? I said, my dear, let me be very honest with you. As I speak to you now, we are all now educated and civilized and all those things, but we are still being manipulated by the West. So 400 years ago, if at this stage I'm still being manipulated, my economy and everything is in their hands, what would you have thought about 400 years ago? Where my granduncles were, what? They didn't know anything about anything. So they went there, forcibly bringing Kofi here, Kofi asserting his authority to get back. So I said to she came back, knelt before me and shook my hands and said, Majesty, I thank you. I thank you very much for being very frank and open with me. I said, so it wasn't our fault. They are still controlling your economy wherever, my economy wherever. So we are not in charge of it again. Still, America, Britain, everywhere it's happening. We still will be manipulated. They will still come to us to take our resources and take it back there. That is why we have to sit up and then manage, see how best we can manage our own affairs. Finance is the oxygen of development. So as we seek to promote and strengthen better and stronger trade and investment relations, we should look for creative ways to generate the requisite financial resources to buttress our efforts. And that's what I'm saying. It should be pointed out that despite the shared history, current trade between the two regions remains minimal. The share of bilateral exports between Africa and the Caribbean, despite an extensive shared history, has never surpassed 6%, according to the Afrexim Bank study, leaving much room for growth. Key to this growth is adding value in priority sectors and creative industries. Trade between the regions currently relies heavily on unprocessed commodities, which reflect missed opportunities to industrial collaboration, innovation, and diversification. Access to trade and investment finance is vital for tapping into the major untapped growth potential in trade in value-added goods. Afrexim Bank has established strong and rapidly evolving relations with CARICOM to boost trade, investment, and financial cooperation between the two regions, operating under the Global Africa vision. As of mid-2025, I'm told the bank has provided more than $2.5 billion in funding across CARICOM, targeting infrastructure, climate adaptation, and SME financing. We are confident that Afrexim Bank's presence in the region through its Barbados office, established in 2023, is set to significantly boost trade between the two regions. There are promising prospects on the horizon. Africa is now moving into full accelerated implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, arguably the best decision made by African heads of government in 6 decades. This treaty has the power not only to revolutionize African trade and development, but also to equip African countries with stronger negotiating power in multilateral areas, thereby boosting their collective ability to change the terms of global trade. Closer African-Caribbean trade relations could prove to be mutually beneficial. The third and imperative component of our mission is to renew. To renew is to reshape our future, informed by the lessons of the past. We must renew our shared purpose and identity. The challenges of racial inequality, discrimination, and the lingering efforts of our history require a renewed sense of pride and collective action. It is about revitalizing our people in our African heritage, embracing the indomitable spirit that allowed our ancestors not just to survive, but to thrive against all odds. We must use our cultural heritage as a foundation for a stronger future, ensuring that traditional wisdom is integrated into modern governance and national development. The goal must be to forge unity amid our cultural diversities, recognizing the harmony in our shared experience. This renewed spirit will empower us to stand tall and face the future with confidence and integrity. The challenges we face today, from economic development to climate change, require a united front. As an African proverb wisely states, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Our destiny across the Atlantic is not a foregone conclusion. It is about what we choose to make of it. Let us work together to ensure the Atlantic no longer symbolizes a barrier, but rather a vibrant living connection, an unbreakable bridge between our people. By choosing to connect, build, and renew, we can create a powerful global Africa that takes its rightful place on the world stage. Let us seize this glorious opportunity to work together, to support each other, and to ensure a prosperous future for all our people. The time for action is now. I will end with mind-bending quotes from 2 Greek philosophers. The first, from Heraclitus, says, "No man ever steps in the same river twice, for it's not the same river and it's not the same man." This is the philosophy of constant flux. Once one steps into the river, the water touches, swirls away. As for the man, his awareness, thoughts, and feelings change carefully. Time can't be stopped or returned to. The world is constantly moving, constantly changing. Africa and its diaspora have to move with the times. The second, from Epictetus, says, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." It means as individuals, or in this context, as countries and regions, we are required to intentionally choose goals and values. In short, we should not just drift through life. If we choose a goal or have a vision, then we should follow that vision. In short, we need to pursue vigorously and expeditiously our union of global Africa with one voice on the world stage. May God bless our determined efforts to connect, build, and renew. Thank you very much.
Our deepest thanks to you, Your Majesty, for the wisdom and insights of your message. We are all truly honored. Ladies and gentlemen, this afternoon's program continues with a brief ceremony for the unveiling of a portrait of the Asantehene, as we heard earlier. This will be hosted on the ground floor of the Hilary MacDonald Beckles Administration Complex. And in deference to all of the protocols that have been effected for our royal guests today, we will quickly transition the royal delegation and just a small company of university and other officials to the second location. So we thank you for your understanding in this regard. For your continued comfort this afternoon, and so that you miss none of the proceedings, our live streaming of the event will continue, and we invite our in-room guests to remain here with us at the Sagicor Cave Hill School of Business and Management as we share together in the broadcast of the unveiling ceremony from the Hilary MacDonald Beckles Administration Complex on the main campus. Ladies and gentlemen, I invite you to stand for the recession of His Majesty and the royal delegation, accompanied by the university's executive delegation and the official party. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You may be seated, and please stay tuned to our UWITV platforms for continuing live coverage from the University of the West Indies Cave Hill campus in Barbados. And I now turn the broadcast over to our online anchor, Dr. Kenneth Connell, the campus's public orator. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You have been joining us live here at the Cave Hill campus, the campus by the sea located in Barbados, for the Reclaiming Our Atlantic Destiny Connect, Build, Renew. We've witnessed the visit and feature address by His Majesty Otumfuo Osei Tutu II at Asantehene, the Asante Kingdom. The various remarks have been given this morning, and the ceremony continues now in the Sagicor building with the unveiling of the plaque and the live video. The university officials present this morning included the Vice Chancellor, Sir Hilary Beckles, the Chancellor, the Most Honorable Doudridge Miller, the campus principal, Professor Clive Landis, as well as visiting dignitaries from the government of Barbados, and importantly, Prime Minister of Grenada, and importantly, Prime Minister of Grenada, and importantly, Prime Minister of Grenada, and importantly, Prime Minister of Grenada. During his remarks, His Majesty mentioned the importance of not only rekindling the transatlantic connection between Barbados and Ghana, but also actualizing this intangible outcomes, He calls specifically on the areas of engineering, as well as medicine and the arts and culture. And the younger people in the audience, I dare say, in moving this connection forward and strengthening the connection. In his speech was also mentioned the transatlantic journey and flight. One of the early flights, the direct flight between Barbados and Ghana, which I think from recollection is just about 6 hours duration. And certainly the delegation is here for the Guba Summit. Growth, Unite, Build Africa here in Barbados, being hosted by the Barbados government. I mentioned at the beginning of the broadcast that His Majesty certainly was here back in 2008 to receive his honorary doctorate as Doctor of Laws here at the Cave campus, and he is the recipient of several honorary doctorates from various universities around the world, including in Ghana. Also on today's program will be the unveiling ceremony, which will be chaired by Dr. Henderson Carter, Dean of the Faculty of Humanities and Education. We'll have some brief remarks again by the Vice Chancellor, Sir Hilary Beckles, and finally the unveiling of the portrait by the Vice Chancellor and His Majesty Otumfuo Osei Tutu II. Of course, as mentioned earlier at the beginning of the broadcast, this afternoon's proceedings were taken at the Sagicor Cave Hill School of Business, and which is just across the street from the main campus. And the rest of the evening's proceedings will continue in the Hilary MacDonald Beckles building, here on campus. The atmosphere is pretty much the same as this morning. Some light breeze this afternoon, which is comforting given the heat of the day. You're probably seeing on your screen right now a live shot of the Hilary MacDonald Beckles building, which is in the shape of an Ashanti stool. The reception are awaiting the arrival of His Majesty. I see here the Executive Director of UWITV, which is featuring this stream. Of course, we await the red carpet welcome. So it looks as if we are now seeing the arrival of the dignitaries, including His Majesty, on main campus at the Hilary McDonald's building. Sir Hilary has just exited the coach. And I recognize also the Honorable Chad Blackman, Minister of Educational Transformation, of course the Principal, Professor Clive Landis, and Her Excellency Juliet Bino Sutherland. Welcome home to her. And of course His Excellency David Comishong as well, as they all head towards the entrance of the building. The Hilary MacDonald Beckles building is quite a sight on campus, but probably more intriguing is the artwork inside the building. If you ever have the opportunity to visit the KPhil campus, one of the main sites of interest is really this building, where an entire collection and diversity of African art awaits you. It is somewhat almost like a living museum, and you see some of the pieces at the entrance, but there's more art on the inside as well. And of course, the entire building, if we were to get a building shot, an aerial view shot, I should say, you would see the shape in the Ashanti stool design. I believe now that most of the dignitaries have already arrived, except, of course, His Majesty. And at his arrival, the remainder of the proceedings will then continue inside the building. Those of you joining us in Ghana, I hope that you are continuing this evening's broadcast, and also those of you who missed it, I hope that you are able to take in the replay of the event on UWITV or Facebook feed, as well as the UWITV channels throughout the region, and on, of course, the UWITV app. And this looks like the arrival now of one of the dignitaries. I'm not sure if this is His Majesty or the Honorable Dickon Mitchell, Prime Minister of Grenada, but we shall see shortly. Sir Hilary Beckles, the Vice Chancellor, and the Principal, Professor Clive Landis, exit to meet the remaining dignitaries as they arrive. And this looks like the arrival now of the entourage, with an alighting from his vehicle. Yes, we were correct, is His Majesty. And he's officially met for the second time by the senior administrators and management of the university, including the Vice Chancellor, Sir Hilary Beckles, and I am assuming that the Chancellor, the Most Honorable Doddridge Miller, is already in place at the ceremony. I'll let you take in the live feed now as we move towards the unveiling of the plaque. This concludes the commentary for today's events. I hope you enjoyed it, and also the remainder of the afternoon's proceedings as we close this historic Reclaiming Our Atlantic Destiny, Connect, Build, and Renew visit from His Majesty Otumfuo Osei Tutu II, Asantehene of the Ashanti Kingdom. Ready?
Good evening. His Majesty Otumfuo Osei Tutu Asantehene, Kingdom of the Ashanti, Prime Minister of Grenada, the Honorable Dickon Mitchell, Dr. the Most Honorable Doddridge Miller, Chancellor of the University of West Indies, the Honorable Jerome Walcott, Minister of Health and Wellness and Senior Minister, the Honorable Sandra Husbands, Minister of Training and Tertiary Education, the Honorable Chad Blackman, Minister of Educational Transformation, Professor Sir Hilary Beckles, Vice Chancellor of the University of the West Indies, and Lady Beckles, Dr. Trissa Tannis, Chair of Campus Council, KPhil, and Reverend Dr. Tannis, Professor R. Clive Landis, Principal and Pro-Vice Chancellor, University of the West Indies, KPhil Campus, Chiefs of the Ashanti Kingdom, members of the Executive and Senior Management of the University of the West Indies, Her Excellency Juliet Sutherland Bino, Sutherland, High Commissioner of Barbados to Guyana, His Excellency David Commichon, Ambassador of Barbados to the Caribbean Community, CARICOM, members of the Royal Delegation, members of the Guba Delegation, members of the university community, deans and heads of departments, faculty and students, specially invited guests, members of the media, guests viewing online via UWITV, ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant good evening to all. I am Henderson Carter, Dean of the Faculty of Humanities and Education here at KPhil. Welcome to this special unveiling ceremony in a building that carries the architectural motif of an Asante stool, to honor King Kofi's men who endeavored to create an African kingdom here in June 1675. Today, we remember these men who were dragged through the streets of Spice Town, some like Tony, burnt alive with his last words, "If you roast me today, you cannot roast me tomorrow." Today, we also remember the victims of a slave ship called the King George, which ran aground off the east coast of Barbados in 1791, killing 281 enslaved Africans bound in their chains. We also remember on this spot, this very spot, the perseverance of Qua William Jemmott, who came here to this monk plantation in 1797 and became the first black sexton in the Anglican Church of St. Stephen's, just a few minutes down the road. Qua inspires us to reach for the stars, despite his challenges, despite his enslavement. And today, this ceremony, under the theme, Reclaiming Our Atlantic Destiny, Connect, Build, Renew, focuses our attention on rebuilding that Atlantic bridge with Africa. That bridge that was broken during colonialism, but a bridge that we now restore as a highway to progress and development. Today it gives me great pleasure to invite Vice Chancellor Professor Sir Hilary Beckles, historian of the 1675 conflict, to give his opening remarks. Sir Hilary?
Your Majesty, this campus, in developing its futuristic identity, thought it necessary to celebrate our ancestral roots so that every student, every worker, every visitor to this campus would be reminded of who we are. Someone had an idea of celebrating our Ghanaian roots with a structure built in honor of our ancestors. And the idea of the motif of the school, of the stool. We were honored, Your Majesty, when you came here and laid the cornerstone. We were honored when you gave us the gift of the baobab tree, which is in splendid growth on the periphery of this building. We believe then that when the leaders of this university, this campus, our principal who is now here, when they walk through this door, they would feel the spirit of our ancestors. And we have located it on this site. There were many locations we could have chosen, but we chose this location because when you are in the city, the capital city, Bridgetown, when you look up from Bridgetown, what you will see on the hill is the stool. And it was chosen for that reason, so that the majority of our people at all times will always be looking for inspiration from the stool. And this is why we are here. One of our great Caribbean artists, Rasaikin, are you here? Please come and stand next to me. Please come. I went and visited this brilliant, distinguished artist, and I said to him, we need a painting that will be permanently located here, that will speak of the descent of the stool from heaven. the stool on which, Otumfuo, you and your successors forever will sit and have the wisdom and the judgment for which you are known. And Ras Aiken thought about it, and I said to him, I can't afford to pay you. So whatever you do here is your own spiritual contribution to the struggle. And he depicted for us the descent of the stool from heaven coming to us to give us that spiritual center of gravity, so that when our Asantehenes, through time, and if my history proves to be correct, the stool was sent down to Osei Tutu the first. And here we are, 400 years later. 400 years later, and Osei Tutu the second is here. 400 years, 400 years. And I'm going to invite our great nation regional artist to describe for us briefly his creation and his vision. Please.
Greetings to all, His Majesty, to his delegation, and to all my Bajan and Caribbean family. When I was commissioned by Hillary to conceptualize this historic moment, I didn't want to follow a literary narrative. So I just wanted to conjure a moment of mystery, an enigmatic moment wherein the actual evidence and presence of the stool is not in the painting, because it is really a moment of anticipation of its arrival. And I thought that it would be good for the painting to retain its mystery and the mystery of that moment. So we're still here looking upward in anticipation, which is looking to the highest aspects of self, really. Basically, that's the conceptual cocoon in which I did this work. And it is a distinct pleasure to be able to share it with you all. I just ask that you engage it, and because it's a visual art, so it shouldn't require a lot of deconstruction verbally, right? Because the eye has no tongue. So it's for you to engage and experience and feel, you know. Yes. Thank you.
I wish to thank our artist for the inspiration captured at that moment. He is one of the greatest artists of this region, and he has opened up our imaginations to sit here and look up to the heavens and wonder at that moment, the moment in anticipation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sir Hilary. Thank you, Ras Akeem. You've not only given us an administration building, but a very important heritage asset, so that visitors to this campus could come here in the foyer, see the drums, see the paintings, and of course, view the painting that we will now unveil. And I want to thank, before we get to the unveiling, all of you for coming and for making this such a wonderful ceremony. And permit me to thank His Majesty Otumfuo Osei Tutu for gracing us with your presence yet again. And we're happy that you could come back and we wish you a pleasant stay in Barbados. Your presence, the portrait, our administration building, the baobab tree, the Quar Monument, we can't forget that, always remind us of our African past and our struggles against slavery and colonialism. So, ladies and gentlemen, heartfelt thanks for coming out this evening. I just want to say a few words about the painting that is about to be revealed, the portrait rather. A portrait by Eric Afani, a Ghanaian artist. And he is represented today by Salone Hilary Fiaggio. Salone, where is he? Yes, here he is. The portrait is entitled Custodian of Heritage. It's a compelling collage artwork that honors Otumfuo, the king of Asante people of Ghana, celebrating his legacy and leadership as the custodian of tradition. This intricate piece, crafted from repurposed leather, beads, and metal scraps, captures the essence of his authority, cultural significance, and enduring influence on the Ashanti people. I now invite His Majesty and Vice Chancellor Sir Hilary to unveil the portrait of His Majesty, which the university is pleased to reveal and which is being unveiled in honor of His Majesty. Sir Hilary, His Majesty.
Fogo.
Thank you. I'm working with her.
To invite Majesty to tour the Dignitary and the plaque on the outside.
again. Yes. 2008. I was here. Yes. On behalf of Otumfuo. Yes. On behalf of Otumfuo, I have the honor to present to you a stool. Otumfuo was delighted when we were here in 2008 to observe that the motif of the building was a stool to show the permanence of the institution and the fact of the heritage of Ashanti that we wanted to perpetuate. And that is why he readily gave me the consent to use the motif. And today, with the building completed and it being formally commissioned, it is proper that he comes to you with an actual stool which has his crest in the chair embossed on it. So this will be a permanent memento of Otumfuo's connection to Keynote campus as far as his commitment is concerned. And there's, as you may know, you are a historian, a quick one of that, the stool is a symbol of authority of the king. And the biggest stool in Ashanti is the golden stool, the name of which is Esikaja Kofi. So you see Kofi coming back. Kofi, yes. Anything that is Kofi means it's indomitable and it's indestructible. And you may want to burn the objects, but you may not burn the spirit. You can never burn the spirit. So with Otumfuo presenting the stool, he's telling you that the spirit of the stool will permeate the teaching that you do here, and it will infuse into your students the symbol, the feeling of cultural identity, which was so much highlighted during his lecture this afternoon. And having said that, I now have the formal pleasure of presenting you the stool on behalf of the artists who work in the expectation. I haven't seen it. How is it to come and receive it? The artists.
Yes, they're calling you.
If you want to come. Yeah, you did an abstract construction, but I'm giving you a physical construction. You see, you have to, I'm translating from the abstract to the real. So this is a stool. Yes. Manifestation. You see the scarp nature and the concrete nature to allow for the sitting, the support, and then the base. And it's supported on 4 legs to give it strength and stability. This is the chenche. It's the emblem of the king. That is his coat of arms. Yeah.
Your art was expected.
First of all, I wish to thank His Majesty for giving this campus the permission. And I want to emphasize, colleagues, that we had to seek permission from His Royal Highness for the right to use the concept of the stool as the architectural motif, and we were delighted when we received the correspondence from the palace that we could proceed. And I wish to thank Your Majesty for this also. I will see this and receive this as energy for this university to continue to do the work that it must do. This university was built as a tool of the upliftment of the African people and the people of Asia who were also colonized. And when it was built in 1948, the narrative was, we have a duty to liberate the colonized people of this region. And this journey, this tool, this journey is a part of that continuation. And we feel even more inspired, Your Majesty, by the energy you have given us here on the 77th year of this university. And as we approach the centenary of this university, we will keep at the center of that centenary celebration the energy you have given us to continue on our journey. Thank you so very much.
I now invite our principal, Professor R. Clive Landis, to make a presentation as well.
Your Majesty, we didn't want you to leave without a gift from the campus. So we chose our MC with great care. Henderson Carter is the Dean of the Faculty of Humanities and Education, and he is the author of this book from our Department of History. And the book is called Today in Bajan History. Today in Bajan History is, I would say, the first time that the real history of Barbados has been told on a daily basis. It is played on the radio every single day. It has been for the last 2,000 days. And it is the history of Barbados which has not previously been written. So it is in an almanac. You have one entry to read every day of the year, from January the 1st all the way to December the 31st. You can check what's on today's entry for November the 12th, and it jumps through history, and I hope you enjoy this humble gift from the University of the West Indies, and I would ask that you receive this in the presence of the Vice-Chancellor and Henderson Carter, the author.
And that concludes our ceremony in the foyer. We will now go outside to the baobab tree and to the plaque. Thank you. Yes, 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 yes.
Trinidad, Barbados, and more. We're making the connection.
We have to people like the population not nation.
That's what we need. That's the augmentation we need from Africa. Yes, sir. I'm looking forward to the direct flight. I can just get on the plane here and straight across the Ghana.
Enjoy the rest of your time in Barbados. It's going to happen very soon.
And we wanted to Accra.
And Kumasi.
To Ghana.
To Ghana, yes. Yes. The heads of state are Mrs. Simmons is committed to getting it done.
Yes, of course.
And now with all the money coming in 2028, they can put money behind it.
Everyone, we be trying. I'm only about 100. Yeah, go ahead. Say Ghana for a little bit of shot. Very nice. And Jim Cows. I'm not going to 100 money now.
Leadership. And he drafted
No, it's only Guinea people.
Are you going back to Syria?
Very clear, definitely.